as Washington concedes it could take months to clear Iran's mines. Critics say US has effectively admitted defeat over who controls Hormuz. Even after extending the ceasefire, Trump's Navy is forced to acknowledge a second major setback in Hormuz. A Pentagon estimate of 6 months to clear Iranian mines is being read as a humiliating admission. While US forces wrestle with hidden mines, analysts warn Iran may now pivot to pressuring Arab states in Hormuz. Energy markets are bracing for prolonged turbulence after Pentagon planners privately warned that fully clearing Iranian naval mines from the Strait of Hormuz could take up to 6 months. According to reports, U.S. assessments now estimate that removing the mines Iran has laid in and around the strait will be a drawn-out process, not a quick technical fix. Officials from the Department of War delivered this sobering assessment to lawmakers during a classified briefing on April 21, underscoring how serious the challenge has become. The details of that briefing were later revealed by the Washington Post, which cited 3 sources familiar with what was shared behind closed doors. Members of Congress were told that complete mine removal might not even be possible until active hostilities between the United States and Iran have ended. The Pentagon warned that minesweeping in the narrow strait involves highly complex operations, made even more difficult by strong currents and hazardous underwater conditions. U.S. Navy mine countermeasure units are already under sustained pressure, repeatedly heading into contested waters to support clearance missions. Reports indicate that Iran has deployed more than 20 naval mines in the area, using small boats and GPS-guided drifting devices to scatter them along key shipping routes. These mines are designed to be hard to detect, turning every clearance effort into a complex and dangerous task for U.S. Navy crews working in a potential combat zone. Iran is believed to have begun its mining operations in March, shortly after initial strikes by U.S. and Israeli forces at the start of the war. Defense intelligence assessments suggest Tehran possesses thousands of naval mines suited to the depth, currents, and geography of the Strait of Hormuz. Some reports even suggest that Iran itself may struggle to reliably locate or recover all of the mines it has positioned during the conflict. Before the war, the Strait of Hormuz carried roughly 20% of global oil supplies, magnifying the global impact of every mine laid and every ship delayed. Iran's Revolutionary Guards are reportedly preparing another significant move that could directly impact US-aligned Gulf nations. An IRGC-linked media outlet has suggested that Gulf Arab states may face increased disruption around the Strait of Hormuz. Reports indicate that Iran's elite forces could potentially target undersea data cables connected to regional countries. The Strait of Hormuz serves as a critical corridor for submarine communication cables linking Gulf states. Some assessments suggest that multiple major cables in the area could be affected simultaneously under such a scenario. If these connections are disrupted, it could result in widespread communication and infrastructure challenges across the region. However, the report does not clarify whether any potential damage would be accidental or deliberate in nature. Countries such as the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait are expected to be among the most affected. In particular, the UAE and Bahrain rely heavily on submarine cables for cloud services and data center operations. There are also indications that Iranian forces may have mapped key regional assets as part of broader contingency planning. Earlier, Iran had warned of possible action against major energy infrastructure in the Middle East if conflict resumes. Iran has reportedly listed the targets it would hit if US and Israeli strikes on its territory restart, signaling that Tehran is again pointing to the region's critical energy arteries as potential pressure points. Iran's Tasnim News released what it described as an IRGC-linked target list on April 21, as fresh warnings surfaced over how Tehran could respond if the war restarts. The IRGC would reportedly target the Yanbu pipeline system in Saudi Arabia, which is widely seen as a major alternative route for oil exports that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's military would also reportedly target the UAE's Fujairah oil facilities and the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, both of which are central to efforts to reroute energy flows away from Hormuz. If Iran were to hit those 3 pressure points, the impact on global crude oil supply could be severe because Yanbu, Fujairah, and Bab al-Mandeb all serve as key alternatives or choke points for international energy shipments. Iran also said it is preparing a decisive and immediate response to any renewed enemy threat, underscoring that its military posture remains on high alert despite the diplomatic track. Major General Abdullahi issued that warning as suspense continued to build over the next round of talks in Pakistan, and over whether Tehran would fully commit to attending. Major General Ali Abdullahi said, and I quote, "Today, The heroic nation of Iran is proud of the authority, preparedness, and all-round strategic capabilities of the IRGC and other forces of the defenders of the homeland, which have driven the Zionist enemy and terrorist America to desperation and exhaustion with deadly and destructive missile and drone strikes and forced them to call for a desperate ceasefire. The people of Iran have not abandoned their support for the armed forces with their enthusiastic and widespread presence in the squares and streets. The brave armed forces of Iran, together with the noble and surprising government and nation of Iran, are united in full compliance with the measures of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, preparing decisive and immediate responses to the threats and actions of the enemy. The armed forces, with a superior hand, did not allow the false and delusional President of America to abuse and make false narratives about the situation in the field and the conditions of silence in the military battle, especially in the management and control of the Strait of Hormuz, and they will respond appropriately to any violation of the covenant. On April 21st, US President Donald Trump announced an indefinite ceasefire with Iran as part of efforts toward a potential agreement. Despite this announcement, tensions between the United States and Iran in the Strait of Hormuz remain elevated. Amid a stalemate over peace talks, the US attacked another Iran-linked vessel, deepening tensions even as diplomatic efforts remain stuck. Just days after seizing an Iran-flagged cargo ship, the US captured another tanker, signaling a continued escalation at sea. The vessel was facing sanctions for allegedly smuggling Iranian crude oil through Asia, according to the US government. The US revealed the operation on April 21st, the very same day that Trump extended the truce, adding to the timing controversy. The tanker, identified as MT Tiffany, was captured in the Bay of Bengal, far from the Strait of Hormuz and the region's usual flashpoints. MT Tiffany was carrying Iranian oil, according to a US defense official cited by the Associated Press. The US called MT Tiffany a stateless vessel, even though it was reportedly flagged in Botswana, as per the Associated Press. On April 19th, US forces had fired at and seized another Iranian-flagged ship in the Oman Gulf, further widening the confrontation. The US military is expected to decide within the next 4 days what to do with the vessel, according to a report. The options reportedly include turning the vessel over to another country or towing it back to the United States. US President Donald Trump announced on April 21st that the current ceasefire with Iran would be extended, altering the timeline for the temporary pause in hostilities. In a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump said that attacks will be held off until Iran puts forward a formal proposal, tying the extension to the prospect of a new diplomatic offer. The truce, which had been set to expire on April 22nd, was extended at the request of Pakistani mediators, as Trump stated, reflecting their continued role as a back-channel broker. Hours earlier, Trump had publicly expressed that he was not in favor of prolonging the ceasefire, according to Al Jazeera coverage of his on-the-record remarks, underscoring the last-minute nature of the reversal. On X, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also expressed gratitude to Trump for extending the ceasefire, welcoming the decision as a chance to preserve the diplomatic window.